The Great Hall of the United Earth Council was silent. Every leader from every nation sat together, their faces tense. On the giant screen at the front, the symbol of the Galactic Council glowed, a circle of stars wrapped in fire. No human had ever seen the leaders of the galaxy speak directly to Earth. But today was different. A cold, metallic voice filled the chamber. "This is the will of the Galactic Council," the voice declared. "Earth is forbidden from building fleets, forbidden from expanding into the stars, forbidden from claiming power. You will surrender all advanced weapons. You will kneel, or you will be destroyed." Gasps filled the hall. Some leaders looked afraid, some angry, but none willing to bow. For years, Earth had been warned to stay small. The galaxy thought humans were nothing but a young race, a fragile people still learning to walk among the stars. But the council did not know the truth. The message continued. "You have 7 cycles to answer. If you refuse, the council fleet will arrive, and your planet will burn." The screen went dark. The chamber echoed with silence. No one moved. No one spoke. Only the sound of heavy breaths. Then the president of Earth, a woman with steel in her eyes, stood up. Her voice was steady, calm, but sharp like a blade. "They think we are weak," she said. "They think we will kneel, but Earth has never kneeled. Not to kings, not to tyrants, not to empires. We will answer their threat, but not with fear." She paused, her words sinking deep into every heart in the room. "We will answer with a call to war." The hall erupted. Some leaders shouted in support, others in fear, but the decision was made. Humanity would not surrender. Humanity would fight, far above the planet. Hidden in secret hangars across the moon and Mars, machines of war waited. For decades, humanity had been preparing. The council thought Earth was harmless, but engineers and scientists had built weapons in silence. Ships bigger than mountains, engines brighter than suns, cannons that could tear through steel like paper. It was humanity's greatest secret. In the shadows of deep space, captains and soldiers stood ready. They had trained in silence, waiting for this moment. One captain, a scarred veteran named Admiral Hayes, watched from the bridge of his ship. He looked out at the dark void and whispered to himself, "They have no idea what's coming." Back on Earth, ordinary people felt the tension. Children asked their parents why the sky felt heavy. Workers in cities felt the weight of silence in the air. They did not know the details, but they felt it. The storm was coming. In the council's palace far away, alien leaders laughed at Earth's courage. To them, humans were insects daring to fight giants. One alien lord hissed, "They will burn, and their ashes will remind others never to rise." Another smirked, "This war will end before it begins." But they were wrong, for inside every human heart burned a fire that no empire could ever crush. Night fell on Earth, and the president stood once more before the people. Her voice carried across every screen, every radio, every city. "My brothers and sisters," she said, "today the galaxy has threatened us. They want us to bow. They want us to give up our future, but we will not." Her eyes blazed, her voice rose higher. "From this day forward, we fight not for land, not for power, but for freedom, for our children, for our home, for humanity." The world listened and the world rose. Factories lit up the night as production doubled. Soldiers marched with fire in their eyes. Scientists pushed their machines to the limit. And across the stars, humanity's hidden fleet came alive. The council had made a mistake. They had given humanity a reason to fight, a reason to unite, a reason to rise. As the night deepened, Admiral Hayes stood on the deck of his ship and looked to the stars. His crew waited for his order, silence heavy in the air. Finally he spoke 3 simple words: "Prepare for war." The council's threat still echoed across the halls of power, but while fear spread through other worlds, Earth moved in silence. Behind closed doors, leaders whispered plans, generals studied maps of the stars, and engineers worked without rest. The galaxy thought humans were reckless, but in truth, every move had been planned years before. Beneath the deserts of Nevada, a hidden base roared with energy. Gigantic hangars stretched for miles, filled with warships that no alien eye had ever seen. Their hulls were black as midnight, their engines silent but powerful enough to shatter space. Each ship bore a single symbol, an eagle rising with wings of flame. It was not just a fleet, it was a promise. Admiral Hayes walked through the hangar, his boots echoing against steel floors. He looked at the row of ships, each one a titan of war. Beside him, a young officer spoke, his voice trembling with awe. "Sir, do you think we can win against the Council?" Hayes did not answer at once. He simply placed a hand on the cold hull of a warship and whispered, "We don't need to win, Lieutenant. We only need to show the galaxy that humans will never bow." Meanwhile, in the labs of Mars, scientists worked on weapons the Council had forbidden for centuries. Plasma cannons that could cut through shields, gravity warheads that could collapse entire cruisers, and stealth drives that could make ships vanish into the void. Every test, every spark of fire in the labs was a secret blade forged for the coming storm. The Council believed Earth's silence was weakness. They did not see the factories glowing through the night. They did not see the soldiers training until their hands bled. They did not see the unity of a race that had once been divided, now for the first time in history. All of humanity stood as one. On the far side of Jupiter, a hidden fleet drifted in the shadows of the gas giant. It was called Project Aegis, a secret alliance of Earth's greatest warships. The commanders of those ships knew the risk. They knew that the Council's fleets outnumbered them 100 to 1, but they also knew something the Council did not. Humans did not fight with numbers. They fought with heart, with cunning, and with fire. Back on Earth, the President addressed her generals. Maps of the galaxy lit up the war room. Red dots marking Council strongholds, blue dots marking secret human bases. "The Council believes we are children," she said, her voice calm but filled with steel. "They believe they can frighten us into surrender. They are wrong. We will not wait for them to strike. We will prepare, and when they come, we will be ready." The generals saluted, their eyes fierce with determination. For them, this was more than war. This was survival. Humanity's very existence hung in the balance. Far away, on a distant station at the edge of Council space, alien spies watched. They had been sent to monitor Earth, to measure its strength. What they saw confused them. Factories working without pause, strange signals in the void, warships disappearing into shadows. One spy hissed to another, "This is not weakness. This is something else, something dangerous." But their warnings would never reach the Council in time. Night fell again on Earth, but there was no rest. Children watched their parents march to training camps. Mothers built weapons. Fathers designed engines. Students carried supplies. Every hand on Earth had a role. Every heart carried the same flame. A single truth burned in their minds. If they did not fight, they would be slaves. In orbit above the planet, Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of his flagship. Through the glass, he watched Earth. His spin below him, glowing blue and white in the darkness. "Beautiful, isn't it?" a voice asked. Hayes turned to see Commander Liu, her sharp eyes fixed on the same view. He nodded slowly. "Beautiful," he whispered, "and worth every drop of blood." A silent alarm flickered across the control screens. An alien scout ship had been detected at the edge of the system. The bridge fell silent, tension heavy in the air. Hayes gave the order without hesitation. "Do not let it escape. The Council must not know what we have built." Engines roared as human interceptors launched into the void. They streaked toward the alien scout like lightning. The alien tried to flee, its engines screaming, but the humans were faster. One blast, one burst of fire, and the scout ship was nothing but debris. The galaxy would not learn Earth's secret, not yet. Admiral Hayes stood straight, his voice echoing through the ship. "Mark this day. From this moment on, we are no longer the hunted, we are the hunters." And so, while the galaxy laughed at Earth's defiance, while the Council sharpened its claws for the coming war, humanity built its weapons in silence. The storm was coming, and this time, it would not be Earth that trembled, it would be the galaxy. The Galactic Council did not wait long. When Earth refused to kneel, the Council called it arrogance. They gathered a fleet of warships, sleek cruisers, and towering dreadnoughts, each armed with weapons that had crushed dozens of worlds before. To the galaxy, the outcome was already decided. Earth would be broken, its people enslaved, its fire extinguished. But Earth was ready. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Valiant, his eyes sharp and unyielding. Around him, officers worked with calm precision, their hands moving across glowing screens. The first enemy fleet had entered the system, 3 massive cruisers and a dozen escort ships. Their orders were clear: test Earth's defenses, measure its strength, crush its spirit. The alien commander appeared on the screen, his scaled face twisted in disdain. You have one final chance, humans. Surrender your weapons, surrender your fleets, or be erased. Hayes did not blink, his voice cold as steel. Transmit this to your council. Earth does not bow. With those words, the first clash began. Alien ships opened fire, beams of light cutting through the void, energy bolts streaked toward Earth's defenses. But humanity was not unarmed. From the shadows of the moon, hidden cannons ignited. A barrage of plasma fire roared across the black sky, striking the alien escorts. One ship exploded in a ball of flame. The others staggered under the impact. Gasps filled the alien command deck. They had expected fear, surrender, weakness. Instead, they found fire. The Valiant surged forward, its engines blazing like suns. Target their lead cruiser, Hayes ordered. Cannons thundered, missiles streaked, and the alien flagship shuddered as explosions ripped across its hull. The alien commander shouted in disbelief. This is impossible. Humans should not have this power. But the battle was only beginning. From behind Mars, humanity's secret fleet emerged. Dozens of warships cloaked in shadow, their hulls shimmering like ghosts. They cut through the alien formation with precision, striking from angles the Council never expected. Alien shields collapsed, ships burned one after another. On Earth, people watched the battle unfold on their screens. Families held hands, soldiers stood tall, children whispered prayers. For the first time in history, humanity was fighting not for land, not for gold, not for kings. They were fighting for survival. Every blast of fire in the void echoed in their hearts. The alien fleet tried to regroup, their cruisers turning to unleash devastating beams. But Hayes had studied their tactics. Now, he commanded, the Valiant released its secret weapon, a gravity torpedo. The weapon spun through space, pulling ships toward Maine. It like a black star, the alien cruisers twisted, their hulls breaking apart under the crushing force. Two cruisers tore themselves in half, their remains drifting like shattered glass. The last alien ship tried to flee, its engines glowing bright as it raced for the edge of the system. Hayes stared at it with cold eyes. Let it run, he said. His officers turned in shock. Sir? One asked. Hayes leaned forward, his voice low. Let it run. Let it carry fear back to the Council. Let them know Earth is not prey. Earth is predator. The crew obeyed, and the lone alien ship fled into the stars, carrying with it a story that would shake the galaxy. Silence filled the bridge as the battle ended. The wreckage of alien ships floated across the void, glowing like dying embers. Hayes looked at his officers, his voice steady but fierce. Today, humanity has taken its first step into war, and we will not stop until the galaxy knows the truth. Humans do not kneel. On distant worlds, alien citizens trembled as the news spread. Whispers echoed through markets, taverns, and palaces. The humans fought the Council fleet, they said, and they won. The Council chamber erupted in outrage when the surviving commander delivered his report. They should not have such weapons, one alien leader roared. They are a danger to every world, another hissed. But deep down beneath their anger, there was fear, a fear they had not felt in centuries. For the first time, the Council had met a race that refused to bow, and worse, this race could fight. Back on Earth, the President addressed her people again. Her voice carried the weight of history. Today, we stood against the galaxy's tyrants. Today, we proved that Earth is not weak. We will fight and we will rise, and no empire will break us. Cheers roared across the planet, but beneath the pride, every man and woman knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The Council would return with greater force, with greater fury. The war had just begun, and the stars themselves seemed to tremble, waiting for what was to come. The destruction of the Council fleet sent shockwaves across the galaxy. News spread faster than light, carried by whispers, by frightened traders, by broken signals. On distant worlds, species that had lived under the Council's rule for centuries asked the same question. How did humans do it? But inside the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, the reaction was fury. Alien lords slammed their claws and fists against stone tables, their voices filled with rage. They are dangerous, one shouted, his scales glittering in the light. They destroyed 3 cruisers and a dozen escorts. A primitive world should not have this strength. Another snarled. If the other species see this, they will rebel. Humanity must be crushed now. The High Chancellor of the Council, a towering being with silver skin and burning eyes, rose from his throne. Then we will crush them, he said, his voice cold as the void. Gather the armada. Show Earth that defiance carries only one punishment, total destruction. The order spread, and across the stars, council fleets moved. Thousands of warships, each one the size of a city, began their march toward Earth. Dreadnoughts that had broken empires, carriers that unleashed swarms of fighters, cruisers bristling with weapons. It was not a strike force, it was an avalanche. Meanwhile on Earth, leaders received the reports. The president stood in the war room, maps of the galaxy glowing red with incoming fleets. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed the weight she carried. They are bringing everything they have, she whispered. Admiral Hayes stood beside her, his jaw tight. Good, he said. Let them. The greater their force, the greater their fall. Across the planet, humanity prepared. Factories ran day and night, turning steel into fire. Pilots trained until they collapsed, rising again to train more. Families sent their loved ones to the stars, holding back tears, knowing this fight was not for glory, but for survival. On the Moon, the hidden cannons were upgraded with new plasma cores. On Mars, experimental weapons were loaded onto cruisers. On Jupiter's edge, Project Aegis grew into a fleet so vast it darkened the void. Everywhere, humanity worked with one thought. When the storm arrived, they would not break, but the people were not blind to fear. Children asked their parents, "Will we be safe?" And the parents answered with trembling voices, "Yes, because we fight together." Even in fear, there was unity, and in unity, there was power. The Council's fleets finally crossed into the Sol system. Their arrival blotted out the stars, a wall of metal and fire stretching across the black. The alien commander spoke again, his voice filled with contempt. Humans, you had your chance. You chose defiance. Now you will pay with your world. Your species will be erased from history. The president responded from Earth, her voice calm, steady, and sharp. You threaten us with death. But we are already prepared to die free. We will not surrender. We will never kneel. Her words echoed across every ship, every station, every home. Soldiers clenched their fists. Pilots gripped their controls. Workers cheered through tears. It was more than defiance. It was a declaration. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Valiant, the fleet stretched out before him, rows of human warships gleaming in the void, cannons glowing, shields humming with power. He raised his voice so that every captain could hear. Today, the galaxy believes Earth will fall, but today we show them the truth. We are not prey, we are hunters, we are warriors, and no empire will break us. The order came down. Fleet, advance. Engines roared, the void lit with fire. Human ships surged forward like arrows straight into the heart of the alien armada. The council laughed, believing the battle already won, but they did not yet understand what it meant to face humanity. In the first volley, alien beasts. Beams rained down, tearing through shields, shaking ships. Explosions lit the black, fire and smoke streaked across the stars. But the humans held their line, answering with weapons the galaxy had never seen. Plasma bolts that burned brighter than suns, gravity torpedoes that bent space itself, rail cannons that shattered dreadnought armor. For every human ship destroyed, 2 alien ships fell. For every pilot lost, 10 more burned with fury. The Council had the numbers, but Earth had something greater. Willpower. From hidden stations near Saturn, human reinforcements emerged. The aliens roared in shock, realizing Earth had planned even this. The battle grew. The void became fire. And in that fire, humanity rose higher. On distant worlds, alien citizens watched the battle through stolen transmissions. For the first time they saw the Council bleed, and for the first time they whispered, "Maybe we do not have to kneel either." The Council wanted fear, but they had planted rebellion, and Earth was the spark. The clash raged on, and though blood and sacrifice filled the void, one truth became clear. This was not the fall of Earth. This was the beginning of something greater, a storm that would sweep across the galaxy. The void was fire. The Council's armada stretched like a wall of metal, endless and unyielding. Human ships darted and struck like wolves against giants. Every blast shook the heavens, every explosion lit the dark. But still the alien fleets pressed forward. Still they believed Earth would fall. Admiral Hayes gripped the railing of the Valiant's bridge, his eyes locked on the burning chaos. "Status," he demanded. "Shields at 60%, forward guns holding, casualties heavy but morale strong," the officer reported. Hayes nodded once, his voice steady. "We are not here to survive. We are here to prove who we are." The alien commander sneered as he atched his ships closed the net around Earth's fleet. "These humans fight like cornered beasts," he hissed. "But beasts still die." And yet deep within Earth's war council, a plan was ready, a weapon hidden so carefully that not even most human captains knew of it, a weapon born from desperation, forged in silence, perfected in shadows. It was called Project Titan. The president's voice cut through the static on every human channel. "Brothers and sisters of Earth, we face an enemy that believes we will kneel. They believe we will break, but they do not understand us." Her words grew stronger, filled with fire. "We do not fight for conquest. We do not fight for empire. We fight for our children, for our freedom, for our very right to exist. And if this is the end, then let it be the loudest cry the galaxy has ever heard." Across the fleet, soldiers roared, pilots slammed their fists against consoles, crews shouted through tears. It was not only a fleet anymore, it was humanity itself, rising as one. Admiral Hayes gave the order. "Release Titan." From the far side of the moon, a shadow moved. At first it seemed like a piece of the planet itself breaking free. Then the stars revealed its shape. A ship larger than any dreadnought, its hull black, its engines silent. It was not just a warship, it was a fortress, a floating mountain armed with weapons the Council had outlawed for centuries. The Titan moved forward, and the galaxy trembled. Alien commanders stared in disbelief. What is that? No world of their size could build such a thing. Yet there it was, rising out of the void like a god of war. The Titan's main cannon charged, light building across its spine. A beam of energy erupted, brighter than the sun. It tore through 3 alien cruisers in a single strike, leaving only ashes. The void went silent for a heartbeat. Then the humans roared. The fleet surged forward with new fury. Every pilot screamed battle cries. Every ship poured fire into the alien wall. Humanity had found its voice, and it was thunder. The alien armada staggered. For the first time in centuries, the Council's fleets faltered. Ships broke formation. Commanders barked frantic orders. The humans pressed harder, faster, stronger. Even as ships fell, even as lives were lost, the cry of humanity only grew louder. On alien worlds across the galaxy, species watched the battle with wide eyes. They had always seen the Council as untouchable, unbreakable. But now they saw cracks. They saw humans standing against impossible odds, and in their hearts, something new stirred. Hope. Admiral Hayes leaned forward, his voice cutting through the storm. "Today the galaxy hears us. Today we roar so loud that no empire will ever forget. We are humanity, and we do not kneel." The Titan fired again, a blast that shattered an enemy dreadnought into burning fragments. The light from the explosion lit Hayes's face, cold and fierce. Still, he knew the cost. Every strike, every victory carried a price in blood. But Hayes also knew something deeper. The Council could destroy cities, fleets, even planets, but they could never destroy the spirit of a united humanity. The alien commander, his scaled face twisted with rage, screamed to his fleets, "Do not falter, do not fear, kill them all." But even as his words echoed, he saw the truth in the fire of the humans' eyes. This was no longer just a battle, this was a proclamation, and the proclamation was this: Earth will fight, Earth will rise, Earth will never bow. The void shook with the cry of billions. The war had taken its first true turn, and from that moment on, every star carried the same whisper. The humans have awakened. The galaxy burned with whispers. The Titan's first strike had shattered the illusion of Council power. For centuries, no fleet had dared resist them, and now a single world had broken their pride. But victory came at a price, human shiz. PS burned across the void, and the cries of the fallen echoed in every heart. On the bridge of the Valiant, Admiral Hayes stood tall, but the weight of loss pressed on his shoulders. Reports scrolled before his eyes, dozens of ships gone, thousands of lives lost. Yet even in sorrow there was fire. For every death, humanity fought harder. For every ship destroyed, two more struck with vengeance. The Council, shaken but unbroken, regrouped their armada. Their commanders hissed in fury, their voices sharp like blades. Crush them, drown them in numbers, show the galaxy no one defies us. And so wave after wave of alien fleets surged forward. The void became chaos, fire brighter than suns, explosions ripping through the silence of space. The Titan unleashed blast after blast, tearing apart dreadnoughts, but its massive power drained its energy core. Engineers shouted as alarms rang through its halls. If we keep firing, the core will collapse. Yet the order from Earth was clear. Do not stop. Humanity cannot fall. On Earth itself, cities shook with tension. Every screen showed the battle. Every family watched with tears and prayers. Children whispered, "Will they win?" And their parents, even in fear, answered, "Yes, because they must." In the war room, the president clenched her fists. She knew the truth. Humanity could not match the Council ship for ship, but humanity had something else. A weapon the Council could never understand. Sacrifice. A plan was formed. Desperate yet brilliant. Several smaller fleets would draw the enemy into traps. They would not survive, but their loss would open the path. Generals saluted without hesitation, knowing what they were asked to give. They did not fear death, for they knew history would remember them. The first trap was sprung near Saturn. Human frigates darted through the rings, firing and retreating, luring alien ships into the ice fields. Hidden mines detonated, tearing cruisers apart. The frigates were lost, but the aliens bled. Another trap near Neptune, another sacrifice. Each time the humans grew weaker, but the enemy grew slower, broken, afraid. Admiral Hayes whispered to himself, his voice low. They think strength is in numbers. They do not see strength is in resolve. The Council's High Chancellor watched the reports with growing rage. These humans are mad, he spat. They throw their lives away as if death means nothing. But in truth, it was not madness. It was humanity's greatest weapon, unbreakable spirit. The Titan, though wounded, surged forward once more. Its main cannon roared, striking the alien command ship. The explosion lit the void in flames. The alien fleet staggered, commanders shouting in panic. For the first time, the Council felt the taste of fear. But even as victory shimmered on the edge, the cost deepened. Human ships fell one by one. Friends screamed each other's names before silence claimed them. The Valiant itself shook under heavy fire, consoles sparking, hull plates tearing away. "Admiral, we can't hold," officers shouted. Hayes only tightened his grip on the railing, his voice sharp as thunder. "We hold until the last breath, because the galaxy is watching." On distant worlds, that truth became clear. Alien citizens saw not just weapons, but courage. They whispered to one another, "If humans can fight, why can't we?" The seeds of rebellion spread like wildfire. The Council had wanted to make an example of Earth, but instead Earth was becoming an example of freedom. As the battle raged, the Titan's engineers screamed one final warning. "The core is unstable, one more shot and it will collapse." The commander of the Titan looked at his crew. He saw fear, but he also saw pride, and with a steady voice, he gave the order. "Do it. Let this ship roar one last time." The Titan's cannon fired, brighter than ever before. The beam cut through the alien flagship, splitting it in two. The Titan shuddered, flames bursting across TS decks, alarms shrieking, but its final act had changed the battle. The Council armada faltered, broken and leaderless. Silence spread across the void as both fleets drew back to lick their wounds. Neither side had won, neither side had surrendered. But one truth rang louder than cannons. Humanity had stood against the strongest empire in the galaxy, and it had not fallen. Admiral Hayes, battered and bloodied, raised his voice across the comms. "To every ship, to every soldier, remember this day. We are the spark, and the galaxy is beginning to burn." The turning point had come. The war was no longer about survival alone. Now it was about destiny, and destiny was in humanity's hands. The war had reached its breaking point. The Titan was gone, but its last roar still echoed across the galaxy. The Council fleets were bloodied, scattered, and shaken. And yet Earth's ships still stood. Battered but unbroken, the galaxy could no longer ignore the truth. Humanity had survived where none thought it could. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Valiant, his uniform scorched, his face shadowed by exhaustion. Reports streamed in, broken voices of captains across the fleet. Minimal power left but holding. Half my crew gone, but we still fight. Admiral, give us the word and we will follow. Hayes looked at the stars, his voice low but sharp. We don't stop here. We finish this. The president, watching from Earth, spoke to Hayes through secure comms. Admiral, the people are ready. The Council believes we are weak, but now is our chance to show the galaxy who we are. Take the fight to their throne. Her words carried the weight of every human heart. It was not only a command, it was a destiny, and so the order went out. Set course for the Council's homeworld. Engines roared and the battered but determined fleet turned toward the heart of the Empire. The journey was long and dangerous. Council outposts tried to block the way, but one by one they fell. Every battle carried more spurs across the stars. The humans are coming. The Council cannot stop them. On alien worlds, oppressed people lifted their heads. Hope spread like fire. For the first time, they dared to dream of freedom. Finally, the fleet reached the Council's throne world, a planet of towers and spires shining like a jewel in the dark. Orbiting it was the greatest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. A wall of ships, millions strong, guardians of the Council's power. The sight would have broken any other race, but humanity had come too far to turn back. Admiral Hayes stood tall, his eyes fixed on the massive blockade. Transmit to every world, he ordered. This battle will not be fought in shadows. The galaxy will see. And across the stars, screens lit up. Billions watched as Earth's fleet faced the Empire itself. Every being held its breath, waiting for the spark. The alien High Chancellor appeared on the comms, his silver skin glowing, his voice filled with venom. Humans, you dare bring war to our home. You are nothing but insects, and today you will be erased. Hayes answered with calm steel. No, today we proclaim the truth. Humanity will never kneel. The fleets clashed, the void lit with fire and screams. Human ships darted like blades, striking at weak points, tearing through larger vessels with precision and fury. Alien ships unleashed waves of destruction, but the humans endured. Every explosion carried with it a cry, a message, a promise. And then, the moment came. The Valiant broke through the Council's defenses, leading a small group of ships toward the throne world. Alien towers opened fire, massive cannons blazing. But humanity pressed forward. They had not come this far to stop. The president's voice cut through the storm, carried to every world watching. People of the galaxy, hear us. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to enslave. We are here to proclaim freedom. Humanity fights not only for itself, but for every world that dreams of breaking chains. Her words rippled through the stars like thunder. On alien planets, slaves cried out, citizens cheered, rebellions sparked. The Council, once feared above all, now looked fragile, desperate, afraid. The Valiant pierced the last defense line, its hull burning, its crew wounded but unyielding. Admiral Hayes stood tall, his voice loud and unshakable. Transmit this to the Council chamber. The message spread, his words carried to every corner of the galaxy. We are humanity. We were threatened with chains, but we chose war. We were told to kneel, but we rose instead. And today we proclaim this truth. The age of fear is over. The age of freedom begins. Silence followed. Then cheers erupted across worlds. The Council's fleets wavered, some surrendering, some fleeing. And in that moment, the galaxy shifted. For the first time in centuries, the Council was not the master. The stars now belonged to all who dared to rise. The war was not yet done. Battles still remained, but one truth had been carved into history. Humanity had answered the call to war, and in doing so, it had given the galaxy a gift. Not just defiance, not just courage, but hope. As the Valiant hovered above the Council's throne world, scarred but standing, Admiral Hayes whispered to himself, "We are free, and we will keep the stars free." And the galaxy trembled, not with fear, but with the roar of a new dawn.